With a song in my heart, the story of men and their music, of composers who really had a song in their hearts.
Beautiful blue orchids one night here in my lonely room. I dreamed of two blue orchids so beautiful and bright that I wanted to possess each tender bloom.
And my dream took wings and through 1,000 spring blue orchids seemed in a world apart. Then when I met you, something pale and blue
came stealing through the meadows of my heart. I saw my two blue orchids, my beautiful blue orchids last night, and what a sweet surprise. When you looked at me, it was plain to see blue orchids only bloom in your eyes. I saw my two blue orchids, my beautiful blue orchids last night, and what a sweet surprise.
When you looked at me, it was plain to see
blue orchids only bloom in your eyes.
The melody we're listening to is Blue Orchids. The composer, a man, Carmichael, one of the most successful and most unpredictable songwriters of modern times. He arrived in this world in 1903. That was, of course, as an individual. He arrived as a songwriter some 24 years later, when he wrote a number we knew as Riverboat Shuffle. At the time, he was doing an arts course at the University of Indiana. A young jazz enthusiast of the era, an amazing musician named Bix Beiderbecke, heard this melody and figured it was worth recording, and approached Hoagy, as he was always known, regarding its possibilities.
You know, Hoagy, I think you've got something in this jazz tune.
Well, coming from you, Bix, that's something.
Well, it happens to be the second effort I've heard from your pen, remember? Washboard Blues was the first, and I think it's worth recording.
Well, don't tell me your combination, the Wolverines, are going to give it the works.
Yes, sir.
And how they recorded it is mainly jazz history. It was, of course, typical of the dizzy 20s. And just to remind you, here it is. Shortly after this, young Carmichael conceived a melody that was to prove one of the music world's most interesting compositions. You know, some melodies become a hit overnight. Others take years to develop. This particular one happened to be one of the others. Carmichael originally wrote it as a piano solo.
There it is, fellas. What do you think of it?
It's a swell tune, Hoagy, but don't you think it's a bit on the unusual side?
Well, frankly, I don't know. I do know this. It keeps haunting me as no tune has ever done before, which is a pretty good sign.
And how right he was. Although originally composed as a piano solo and a sleeper for a couple of years, one day Isham Jones' #1 arranger, Jimmy Dale, heard it. If you possess a good memory, you'll recall that at that time, around 1931, Isham Jones was one of the world's most prominent dance maestros, and, in addition, quite a successful composer. He tossed us off a few tunes like It Had to Be You and I'll See You in My Dreams. On this occasion, arranger Jimmy Dale said,
Isham, you know that piano solo you asked me to have a look at?
You mean the one from that Indiana boy?
Yeah, you know, I think it's got something.
Well, I like the melody, but there appears to be something lacking about it.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what it is. It needs simplifying. It's written for a quick tempo. I figure it should be played slowly, smoothly.
Maybe it needs a lyric, too.
I agree. I'll contact that very good lyric writer, Mitchell Parrish, about it. See if he has any ideas on it.
But whilst all these things were happening, Hoagy Carmichael was still turning out melodies. And one of his newer efforts caught the public fancy. It was that excellent song of the Southland called Georgia on My Mind.
Georgia, the whole day through, just an old sweet song, it's Georgia on my mind, Georgia on my mind, Georgia, Georgia. Song of you comes as sweet and clear as moonlight through the trees. Other arms reach out to me, other eyes smile tenderly. Still in peaceful dreams I see the road leads back to Georgia, Georgia. No peace I'll find, just an old sweet song keeps Georgia on my mind.
Meanwhile, although Georgia had hit the high spots, those two Chicago music men, Isham Jones and Jimmy Dale, were still toying with the possibilities of the song, or piano solo to be precise, named Stardust.
Tell me, Jimmy, how did Mitchell Parrish make out with that lyric, that young Indiana boy song?
Oh, the last I heard was he liked the melody and considered it had possibilities.
Fine. I'll be glad to hear it when he's cleaned it up.
That certainly was a break. From the efforts of Jimmy Dale, Isham Jones, and, of course, lyric writer Mitchell Parrish, the song called Stardust was born. A song that has become a classic in the field of popular music.
Its sales in sheet music have run into millions.
Furthermore, as regards records, over 15 million discs have been sold. Yes, you heard correctly, 15 million. So, for a revival of one of the most popular pops of all time, Hoagy Carmichael's Stardust.
Sometimes I wonder why I spend the lonely night dreaming of a song. The melody haunts my reverie, and I am once again with you when our love was new, and each kiss an inspiration. And now my consolation lies in the stardust of a song.
Beside a garden wall, when stars are bright, you are in my arms. The nightingale tells his fairy tale of paradise where roses grow.
Though I dream in vain, in my heart it always will remain. My stardust memory, the memory of love's refrain. Beside a garden wall, when stars are bright, you are in my arms. The nightingale tells this fairy tale
of paradise where roses grew.
Though I dream in vain, in my heart it always remains. My stardust memory, the memory of love's refrain.
In these days of, musically speaking, a slightly slower tempo, Hoagy Carmichael likes to recall his inspiration, Vic's Beiderbecke.
You know, when I first heard this Beiderbecke at one of our sorority dances, well, I heard something. Music of his orc had that indefinable touch, that little bit of extra that made it outstanding. And candidly, I went nuts about him. It was the Southland played as it should be. You know, years later, his recording of my earlier effort, Washboard Blues, inspired me to base a song on a certain passage in the number, which I later wrote with Johnny Mercer.
And what was that, Hoagy?
Oh, you'd probably know it as Lazy Bones.
Lazy bones, sleeping in the sun. I expect to get your day's work done. Never get your day's work done. Sleeping in the noonday sun. Lazy bones, sleeping in the shade. How you expect to get your cornmeal made? Never get your cornmeal made. Sleeping in the evening shade. When taters need spraying, I bet you keep praying the bugs fall off of the vine. And when you go fishing, I bet you keep wishing the fish don't grab at your line. Lazy bones, loafing through the day. I expect to make a dime that way. Never make a dime that way. Now look at here, you better mind the word. needs spraying. I bet you keep praying the bugs fall off of the vine. And when you go fishing, I bet you keep wishing the fish don't grab at your line. Lazy bones loafing through the day, I expect to make a dime that way. Never make a dime that way. Now look here, you better mind the words I say.
You know, a hit number is a funny old thing. Take Carmichael's song, I Get Along Without You Very Well.
It happened this way. When I was taking my law degree, yes, and I eventually took it, some nice person came up to me and said,
Hoagy, I like your music.
well, thank you very much.
In fact, I like it so much I've written a lyric, and it's all for you to do as you like with.
Well, thank you, ma'am. I'll see what I can do with it.
Many years later, Hoagy dug this lyric out. But, and get this, he'd forgotten who'd passed it on to him. So what's to do about it? Go on, Hoagy.
Well, there was only one thing to do.
And that was?
Find out who'd written it. I read the words out over a national radio hookup and asked who it was who'd given them to me.
And what happened?
Well, nothing much. Except 48 honest or otherwise folk claim to have been the author of it.
And then?
Well, it appears that some years before, the American magazine Life had published them. And they were written by Mrs. James Brown Thompson.
And the authoress?
Well, she unfortunately died before the song was recorded by Dick Powell.
To place it on record, here is the number.
I get along without you very well. Of course I do. Except when soft rains fall and drip from leaves, then I recall the thrill of being sheltered in your arms.
Of course you do.
But I get along without you very well. I have forgotten you just like I should. Of course I have, except to hear your name or someone's laugh that is the same. But I've forgotten you just like I should.
What a guy, what a fool I am, to think my breaking heart could get the moon.
What's in store? Should I fall once more? No, it's best that I stick to my tune. I get along without you very well. Of course I do. Except perhaps in spring. But I should never think of spring, for that would surely break my heart in two. Yes, that would surely break my heart in two.
Right in
And on the personal side, what do we know about this fellow, Hoagy Carmichael?
Well, for a start, he's a family man, wife and 2 children.
Married when?
1936. And he hasn't forgotten that early influence. One of his 2 boys is named Hoagy Bix Carmichael.
After the old maestro Bix Beiderbecke?
Naturally.
which I think from this very successful man is a high compliment. In addition, of course,
Carmichael is one of the most successful men in the United States of America.
He's a movie star.
A radio star.
plus this fact, he is one of America's most popular composers. But he's still a very human guy.
Yes, he wasn't ashamed to learn music some 2 or 3 years ago.
Are you being facetious?
No, on the contrary. You forget there is a vast difference between a musician and a composer. One creates, the other demonstrates.
Whichever way you look at it, appears to be a perfect combination. Anyone know anything else about him?
Only what that recent article in the Saturday Evening Post had to say.
And that was...
He still likes to cut his own kids' hair.
He still possesses a voice like a rasp.
He is 5'7" high, speaks with a nasal drawl.
And from what I can gather, is a nice man to meet. His melodies seem to prove it, too. So for our finale, a medley. And what a medley of Hoagy Carmichael hits. Take it away, William Flynn. To Carmichael.
There's a doctor living in your town. There's a lawyer and an Indian too. Neither doctor, lawyer, or Indian chief could love you any more than I do. There's a barrel of fish in the ocean and a lot of little birds in the blue. Neither fish nor fowl says the wise old owl could love you any more than I do.
Small fry strutting by the pool. Small fry should be in the schoolroom. My, put down that cigarette. You ain't a grown-up man, my dear. Small fry dancing for a penny. Small fry counting up how many. My, just listen here to me. You ain't the biggest catfish in the sea. You practice pecking all day long to some old radio song. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yeah. You better listen to your boy and someday practice the law, and then you'll be a real success. Yes, small fry, you kiss the neighbor's daughter. Small fry should stay in shallow water. Simba should take you cross mountain. You ain't the biggest catfish in the sea. You got your feet all soaking wet. You'll be the death of me, yeah. Oh me, oh my small fry.
Oh, buttermilk sky, I'm keeping my eye peeled on you. What's the good word tonight? Are you gonna be mellow tonight?
Oh, buttermilk sky, can't you see my little donkey and me?
We're as happy as a Christmas tree, head for the one I love.
I'm gonna fall for the question, that question. Do you, darling, do you do? It'll be easy, so easy, if I can only bank on you.
Oh, buttermilk sky, I'm telling you why, now you know. Keep it in mind tonight. Keep a brushing those clouds from sight.
Oh, buttermilk sky, don't you fail me when I'm needing you most. Hang a moon above a hitching post, hitch me to the one I love.
You can if you try. Don't tell me don't lie.
Will you be mellow and bright tonight?
Buttermilk sky.
Oh, buttermilk sky.
So I dream in vain, always in my heart.
And we conclude still another episode of our stories of men and their music. The artists depicting the Carmichael story were Douglas Kelly, Robert Peach, Mary Disney, George Randall, Joan Clark, Max Blake, and the Keennets. Your narrator was Kevin Brennan. The orchestra and vocal ensemble were under the baton of William Flynn. For The Song in My Heart was produced by Alfred Potter and scripted and directed by Jack O'Hagan.